I want you to start off today by just doing a little visualization exercise with me.
Okay, that's good.
So I want you to imagine a world where there are absolutely no traffic jams, like none at all.
Oh man, that is the dream.
Right. You never have to tap your brakes on the highway. You never get stuck behind some truck going, I don't know, 10 miles an hour under the speed limit. Every intersection just flows perfectly.
Yeah, just a flawless, continuous stream of movement.
Exactly. But now I want you to take that exact same image and apply it to global politics.
Okay, that's a bit of a leap.
It is, but what if world peace-like, the actual end of all international conflict, what if it was exactly as simple as agreeing on the maximum width of a car?
I mean, that forces us to completely reevaluate the scale of human conflict,
Yeah, it really does.
because we are so used to thinking of global harmony
Yeah.
as this impossibly tangled web of historical grievances, economic treaties, and complex diplomacy. But the framework we are dissecting today, it strips all of that away. It replaces decades of geopolitical theory with the simple, brutal mechanics of a highway.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are exploring a really radical essay by Su Feng, which was originally published back in August 2019.
Titled, How Good Are Universal Values?
Right. And just for context, it was translated by Kinyu and edited by Karer. The mission of this deep dive is to explore the author's highly unique definition of universal values.
And his radical argument that every single global conflict, and get this, even natural disasters, are essentially just a failure of basic logistics.
Yeah, which completely redefines what a universal value actually is, right? It pivots away from those lofty ethical debates and grounds human morality in, well, the physics of agreement.
Taking concepts that we usually just dismiss as dry logistical standards, measurements, calendars, the basic rules of the road, and elevating them to the level of profound moral imperatives.
It's intense.
It is. That's what makes this perspective so uncompromising. We are looking at a philosophy of human happiness built entirely out of the basic physics of flow and friction.
Okay, let's unpack this right from the beginning, because defining our terms here really sets the stage for everything else.
Absolutely.
So the essay defines universal values as the concepts and ideas that make people happy, joyous, free, and blessed.
Which sounds standard enough, almost utopian.
Yeah, it does. But then the argument grounds this in a deeply physical analogy, which is the highway.
Right, the highway analogy.
So if you are driving on a road, whether you are in Africa, Europe, Australasia, or the Americas, as long as your vehicle is not more than 2 meters wide, you can generally travel freely.
Because the roads are built to accommodate that.
Exactly. The premise here is that this maximum vehicle width of 2 meters is, in itself, a universal value.
What's fascinating here is how this redefines morality as an operational standard. I mean, if a 2-meter car width is a universal value, the obvious question is what happens when someone violates it?
Right, like if someone builds a massive car.
Yeah, imagine someone driving a car that is 4 meters wide down that exact same road. The result isn't just some abstract ethical violation. It is a massive physical traffic jam.
Because they're taking up way too much space.
Exactly. Every car coming from the opposite direction has to swerve out of the way, or the 4-meter car simply gets stuck and no one can move anywhere. The entire system breaks down.
The friction itself is the evidence of the violation.
That's the core of it, yeah.
It is such a vivid way to picture societal breakdown. And the same logic is applied to the concept of time in the essay.
Oh, the calendar example.
Yeah. Agreeing on a specific date, say today is August 29, 2019, is treated as a universal value.
Because we all share that temporal coordinate,
Yeah.
right? So recording history and communicating with each other just flows smoothly.
Right. But if a group decides they just reject that value and they insist the date is actually November 37th, 3085.
Then communication hits a brick wall.
Exactly. It causes a blockage. Life becomes entirely unreasonable.
The absolute literalism of this approach is where it derives its power, really. In both the 2-meter car example and the shared calendar date, we see that a universal value is fundamentally about creating a shared reality.
A reality that allows for frictionless movement.
Yes. When we share the reality, we have flow. When we don't, we have an immediate, undeniable blockage. So a differing opinion isn't just a different perspective.
It's a physical barrier.
Exactly, plays right in the middle of a shared thoroughfare.
I hear that, but I have to push back on this framework a bit. Aren't car widths and calendar dates just practical measurements? I mean, they're logistics.
You're saying they aren't inherently moral.
Right. It feels a bit like agreeing on the rules of a board game. Like if we sit down to play Monopoly, we all have to agree that you collect $200 when you pass go.
Because if you don't agree, the game doesn't work.
Exactly. If I decide I'm going to collect $500, the game falls apart and we all get mad. But agreeing on that rule doesn't mean the rule is inherently moral or a deep human value.
It's just mechanics.
Yeah, it just means we agreed on a system to keep the game moving. Does a practical car whip really equate to making people happy, joyous, free, and blessed?
Well, you are touching on the fundamental divide between modern Western philosophy and the philosophy driving this essay. You are separating the logistical from the moral.
Treating rules as mere conveniences, yeah.
Right. But this framework actively conflates the two. Here, logistical friction is indistinguishable from moral failure.
So any blockage is a moral failing.
Anything that prevents human movement, human communication, and ultimately human happiness, whether it's a ridiculous 4-meter wide car taking up 2 lanes or a completely fabricated calendar date, is a direct violation of a universal value.
Wow.
The traffic jam is the physical manifestation of a moral failing. There is no distinction between a broken rule and a broken society.
That is an incredibly uncompromising view of morality, treating friction not as a mere difference of opinion, but as an objective failure of the human condition.
It scales up very quickly.
Yeah, so if we take that logic, that a traffic jam is a moral failing, and we scale it up to the macro level, we start getting into some heavily contested territory.
We transition from literal traffic jams on a highway to massive metaphorical traffic jams on the global stage.
Specifically, the essay points directly at the trade congestion that occurred between China and the United States.
Applying this thesis to a specific geopolitical event really tests its durability.
It does.
The reasoning for the massive trade blockage between the U.S. and China is distilled into a binary outcome here. Either China did not observe a universal value, or the United States did not observe a universal value, or neither country did.
It is the exact same logic as the 4-meter car.
Precisely. There's a blockage on the global highway. Therefore, someone is driving a vehicle that is too wide.
So all the tariffs, negotiations, the political posturing.
These are all just the sound of metal scraping against metal because the values aren't universal.
Now, before we go any further into the mechanics of this, I want to take a quick pause and speak directly to you listening.
Very important point here.
Yes. We are about to delve into these specific political slogans and figures mentioned in this source material, which includes Donald Trump and Xi Jinping. It is incredibly important to state clearly that we, as your guides on this deep dive, are taking absolutely no sides.
We are not endorsing, criticizing, or passing any judgment whatsoever.
None. Not on the United States, not on China, not on the trade war, or on any of the political leaders or slogans mentioned. Our sole purpose today is to act as an impartial mirror.
We are just unpacking the exact logic and structural claims presented in Suifeng's essay. We are examining the machinery of the argument, nothing more.
Exactly. And maintaining that analytical distance is vital because the argument rests on a ruthlessly strict definition of what disqualifies a value from being universal.
According to the text, a universal value absolutely cannot be mixed with national, ethnic, religious, regional, or special interest sentiments.
Focusing on a little bit.
If a concept possesses even a microscopic trace of national or ethnic coloring, it is immediately stripped of its universal status. It ceases to be a 2-meter car and immediately becomes a 4-meter hazard.
So what does this all mean for the U.S. and China in the context of this essay? The analysis takes aim at two very specific famous concepts: Donald Trump's America First and Xi Jinping's Chinese Dream.
And because both of these concepts inherently carry heavy national sentiments,
They fundamentally fail the test. According to the strict rules we just established, neither America First nor the Chinese Dream can be considered universal values.
they are essentially the geopolitical equivalent of a 4-meter wide car.
Right. They are structurally guaranteed to cause a traffic jam because they are designed to take up more than their allotted share of the global road.
The logical structure here is fascinatingly rigid. The moment a value prioritizes one specific group over another, even if that group happens to be an entire nation of hundreds of millions of people, it creates inherent friction with anyone outside that group.
Because America First, by definition, implies a hierarchy where others are second.
Exactly. And a Chinese dream is specific to the Chinese nation and its historical trajectory. These are inherently exclusionary concepts attempting to drive down a shared, finite global highway,
And the inevitable result is a collision.
which manifests as trade wars and diplomatic breakdown.
So exclusivity is the poison pill. If a value benefits my group, but not your group, it is disqualified. Full stop.
That's the rule.
And here's where it gets really interesting. If we follow this logic to its natural conclusion, it doesn't just stop at tearing down national politics.
Oh no, it goes much further.
Right. If national sentiment ruins a universal value, what else ruins it? The scope expands to systematically eliminate almost every major belief system and economic structure that you or I or anyone else listening might currently use to navigate the world.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see the exclusion principle applied with equal severity to both religion and economics.
Let's look at the spiritual dimension first.
The argument specifically contrasts Buddhism and Christianity to illustrate this point. Buddhism is deeply rooted in the concept of reincarnation, a cyclical view of time and spiritual progression.
Right.
Christianity, conversely, is built around the concepts of resurrection and a final linear judgment.
So those are two completely different operational realities.
Fundamentally different.
They require different timelines, different goals, and different understandings of the universe.
Precisely. These beliefs are in sharp contrast to each other because their foundational metaphysical roots are entirely distinct. Because they carry these highly specific religious sentiments that only apply to their respective believers, the conclusion is that neither Buddhism nor Christianity possesses universal values.
Wow.
And by extension, this claim broadens to state that all other traditional belief systems lack universal values as well. The rule remains absolute. If a concept or idea carries an exclusionary religious sentiment, it cannot serve as the 2-meter car for humanity.
I'm trying to wrap my head around the scale of this rejection. It's like trying to plan a dinner party where you have to find one single dish that perfectly, flawlessly satisfies every single guest.
Which is basically impossible.
Right, because your guest list includes, a strict vegan, a dedicated carnivore who only eats steak, someone with a severe peanut allergy, and a person who is on a 100% raw food diet.
Okay, I see where this is going.
So you pull a beautiful roasted chicken out of the oven. The carnivore is thrilled, but the vegan is completely alienated. So you pivot to a peanut tofu stir fry.
The vegan is happy.
But the allergy sufferer is now in actual medical danger. Under this philosophy, if anyone at that table is even slightly unhappy, excluded, or harmed by the dish is an absolute failure. It is not a universal meal.
That dinner party analogy beautifully illustrates the operational flaw at the heart of global economics too, as viewed through this lens.
How so?
Well, this exact same uncompromising standard is applied to the classic, centuries-old debate between socialism and capitalism.
Oh, right.
Socialism fundamentally fails to be a universal value because its implementation cannot make the capitalist, the bourgeois class, happy and joyous. It requires the suppression of one class's desires for the benefit of another.
Yeah, that creates friction.
Exactly. Conversely, capitalism fails because its pursuit of profit cannot satisfy the working proletariat class. It inherently requires a hierarchy of labor and capital.
Each system inherently creates winners and losers. Each system inevitably leaves someone at the dinner party hungry, or worse, forces them to pay for the meal they can't even eat.
And therefore, neither economic model can claim to be a universal value. They both generate immense systemic friction.
So we are basically looking at a systematic dismantling of nations, of major world religions, of the foundational economic systems of the modern world.
They are all categorized as 4-meter cars,
causing massive cascading pileups on the highway of human history.
That is exactly how the essay frames it.
Which brings us face to face with a massive void. I mean, if I am listening to this, the logical next question screaming in my head is, what exactly is left?
It's a fair question.
If you have methodically stripped away my nationality, dismantled my religious framework, and rejected my economic system, what on earth replaces it? How do we get to this traffic-free paradise?
The essay actually provides a highly specific answer here. It introduces a concept called the 800 values for new era humans.
Okay.
In today's era, this specific philosophy, these 800 values, is presented as the ultimate embodiment of true universal values.
So this is the solution?
Yes. The assertion is that if humanity pursues these 800 values, we will finally transition onto a clear, unobstructed thoroughfare. These values are designed as the operational code for the 2-meter car, stripping away tribalism and replacing it with behavioral and psychological standards that theoretically generate zero friction.
But the text makes a leap here that honestly, it made me stop and reread it 3 times just to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding the
I
translation.
know exactly the part you mean.
It doesn't just promise that we will stop arguing over trade routes or fighting holy wars. It claims that if we adopt these 800 values, natural disasters will gradually decrease and calm down.
Yes, that is a direct claim.
Let me just sit with that for a second. Adopting a human philosophy will physically calm down the Earth's natural disasters. I mean, I understand how agreeing on a set of logistical rules stops a trade war. I understand how it stops two neighbors from quarreling over a fence.
Because that's human-to-human interaction.
Right, but how does a human ideology stop a hurricane? How does it prevent a tectonic plate from shifting and causing an earthquake? I'm trying to follow the logic from social harmony to literal planetary weather control.
This raises an important question about the deeper cosmological worldview underpinning the entire argument. To a modern, scientifically minded reader, jumping from human morality to geological or meteorological events seems like an incomprehensible leap of logic.
It really does.
But if we dig into the philosophical roots here, we can see that in this framework, the physical universe and human morality are not separate, isolated spheres. They are completely and inextricably linked.
Are we talking about something akin to the mandate of heaven, like that old philosophical concept where a ruler's immorality would literally cause droughts and floods?
It operates on a very similar principle of cosmic resonance, actually. We have to look at the universe as a single, interconnected, resonant body.
Okay.
Remember how the essay conflated the logistical friction of a traffic jam with a moral failure early on?
Yeah, where the traffic jam was the moral failing.
Exactly. Now, at the apex of the argument, we see the reverse applied, conflating a perfect moral alignment with physical, environmental tranquility.
Oh, I see.
In this worldview, a war, a trade dispute, or an argument between political parties isn't just a human problem occurring on the Earth. It is a disruption of the natural order of the Earth.
So the friction of our non-universal values literally agitates the fabric of the physical world.
Exactly that. If humanity is constantly vibrating with the friction of exclusionary values, the Earth itself shakes in response. The macrocosm mirrors the microcosm.
That's wild.
Therefore, if humanity completely aligns with the flawless, fictionless 800 values for new era humans, that human turbulence ceases. The collective vibration smooths out, and the physical Earth responds by calming its storms, settling its fault lines, and returning to equilibrium.
So the social thoroughfare and the environmental thoroughfare are ultimately one and the same.
That is the ultimate conclusion, yes.
That is a staggering scale of interconnectedness. It's like a unified theory of everything, where human happiness, global trade, world peace, and the weather are all tied to whether or not we are driving the right-sized car down the highway of life.
It really is an all-encompassing vision.
We started this deep dive with the practical, almost mundane magic of a 2-meter car width and a shared calendar date. And we watched that logic methodically reject national interests, religious divisions, and economic self-interest as nothing more than roadblocks.
Just massive 4-meter-wide hazards.
And we've ended up staring at a utopian vision where adopting a single, flawless value system not only brings world peace, but literally calms the storms of the Earth.
It is a profound exercise in taking a single logical premise, that friction is a failure of universal alignment, and applying it relentlessly to every single layer of existence, refusing to compromise on what universal truly demands.
I want to turn this back over to you listening to this right now. Think about your own life, your own week. How often do you experience traffic jams in your own relationships?
That's a great question.
How often do you hit a wall communicating with a coworker, a family member, or a friend simply because the two of you are operating on completely different sets of non-universal values? Are you trying to drive a 4-meter car down their 2-meter road?
It provides an incredibly sharp framework for self-reflection. When we experience that interpersonal friction, it is almost always because someone's specific exclusionary interests are violently bumping up against someone else's.
But I want to leave you with one final, lingering philosophical paradox to chew on today.
Okay, let's hear it.
The argument we explored today asserts, with incredible conviction, that a true universal value must strip away all national, religious, and economic sentiments in order to make absolutely everyone happy. It has to perfectly satisfy every single guest at the dinner party, requiring a menu entirely devoid of individual preference.
Right, zero friction.
But think about what actually makes You. You.
Yeah.
Think about your beliefs, your unique cultural background, your personal interests, the distinct way you perceive the world. If we actually stripped away all of those specific identities, all of those differing beliefs, and all of our personal friction just to achieve that perfect harmonious flow.
Would there be anything left?
Exactly. Would there be any of our individuality left to actually enjoy that perfect traffic-free paradise?
It's a lot to think about.
It really is. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.